Oh, it's got to get the energy pumping.
Here
we go.
Boom.
For all my people in the chat asking for EDM. You got
it. Scare me. I was counting up. I was like,
yeah, I
was like,
wasn't planning on having a heart attack tonight, but you know,
we don't know how to count. Guys, get over it. It's a counter.
I missed all the people asking for it. I'm looking there, but
I didn't see it.
Listen, I saw one, and that's all I need.
That's all you need.
The party started.
Nick does not count. Nick was just being nice. He just was.
I want to make sure I had it right in the calendar. I was like, is that today? No one's talking about it. What's going on?
Yeah, I feel a lot of the hate here, but you know, I'm not gonna say anything when your old Crow Medicine show comes on that you haven't heard Wagon Wheel for the 9,000th time. Okay. Jeez.
Oh, it's all right. We love you, Kenny. We appreciate you.
Nah, it's all good. It's all good. Well, you guys want to hit it? Can I get at it?
Do it.
Let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's do it. We'll be sans Fred tonight. He's with his boy tonight. That's okay. All right, let me pull my notes up here real quick from where I had it from before. Okay. All right.
Okay.
There we go. Hey, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Bourbon Pursuit, the official podcast of Bourbon. I am one of your hosts, Kenny Coleman.
And I am Ryan Cecil.
And our other third host, Fred, is not with us tonight. He is being preoccupied, probably at a gymnasium. But it's Ryan. It's one of the things that you've probably never been to a wrestling meet before, right?
I have not.
Assuming not. Yeah. Well, growing up, there's
most of it was WWE. I've been there.
Okay, not the same thing, but there was a T-shirt I always had growing up. It says the greatest sight on a gymnasium floor is wrestling mats from door to door. So that is what he gets to experience. So that is the life of a wrestler, cutting weight and everything like that goes into it.
Wearing trash bags, on sauna suits.
I had a sauna suit. I had one. Get up go to school at around 6:30 a.m. You go and you run the bleachers up and down, up and down, up and down, sweat. You have a granola bar and an apple for lunch while all your friends are eating mac and cheese and cheeseburgers, and then you go and you start sweating again for 4 more hours, and then you have a can of tomato soup for dinner or something like that.
Sounds
Hold
like
on,
our days
Kenny,
of
you
pursuit.
wrestled?
You didn't know that?
I mean, we're 118 episodes in, and this is the first I'm hearing about your wrestling career.
Now, I wouldn't say I was a great wrestler by any means, but I definitely had the discipline. I went through it. My dad, he got me in early. I think I've shared the scarring before that my father put upon me because growing up for a Christmas one year, and this is why I hate working out even to this day. I got a bench press set, like as a middle schooler. I didn't ask for this. Right. And that was not what I wanted, but he's just like, yeah, it's time to start training. I didn't like it. So instead, whenever I got in trouble, my punishment was just to hold weights above my head until I could no longer hold them there anymore. And
Until they landed on your head.
so yeah,
Break
could
your
you
neck.
imagine as a like 12-year-old, like holding weights above your head until your arms just give out? That was my punishment growing up. My dad was a tough guy, right?
Yeah.
So
And your wrestling name was Kenny Comeover, right?
the jokes just keep coming. don't they?
That's right.
They're writing themselves at this point.
Somebody with a 12-year-old, I kind of get that. I mean, they kind of need it. And as somebody with a similar build to Kenny, I kind of needed that too in my life. So.
It is one of the sports that you can't blame it on the other team because they're bigger or anything like that. It's like it's man versus man. You're in a weight class with somebody else that you're paired up against. So all you have to do, the only person you can blame is but yourself, right? And I think that's like one of the things that sport teaches you. All right,
Yeah, I don't like that.
you can't rely on your outfielder to
That's
come
right.
in and play cleanup for you.
No doubt.
Or in your case, you can't rely on a former UK basketball star to help your pickup game.
And yeah. Like,
That's what-
yeah,
that's what
I like excuses.
Yeah, totally. All right, enough with our talk of yesterday of what high school was like. But let's go ahead and kind of talk about our topic du jour as we get into it. But let's do a quick round and introduction. So, Brian, we'll start with you on the top right.
Yeah, thanks for having me back, guys. Brian with Sipping Corn, Bourbon Justice. Excited for the topic here. We've covered it, but there's a brand new angle. We keep seeing that in bourbon world, so look forward to it.
Yeah, who knew we were going to back so quickly, right? And Blake.
Blake from Sealbox, always fun to be here. I didn't want to draw attention to this, but the competitiveness that Kenny started with his wrestling talk. Glad to be here for the 118th time in a row on the Roundtable. So, as somebody whose father may have also made him hold weights over his head, that's how you end up on 118 roundtables in a row. So don't do that to your kids. Just let them grow up.
Dedication and persistence. That's what builds character. And Nick.
Yeah, glad to be here again, Nick, with Breaking Bourbon. I cannot claim I didn't hold the weights over my head, so I'm not 118 episodes in a row, but glad to be here for this one. Always a new angle, like Brian was talking about. So I always feel like sometimes these single topics we're like, maybe there's not enough to talk about. Then we get going, and a lot of stones get turned over, and a lot of ideas come out. So excited for it.
Yeah, especially since you weren't on the last one. We get to kind of hear a little bit of your side and see if there's any more to uncover from the Breaking Bourbon family over there, if you will.
Nor was I, because I didn't hold weights over my head as a kid.
Oh, you weren't. Oh, you were traveling, weren't you?
That's right. I was traveling.
Ah, okay. Well, great. Then we get two new sides of this coin. I guess how many sides of a coin can you have? But we'll have multiple sides of the die tonight. How about that?
That's right.
Especially if it's one of those things from like Dungeons and Dragons, and there's like 64 sides or whatever it is. But all right, so a couple weeks ago, last on Bourbon Community Roundtable number 117, we had talked through the big news that was Pernod and Brown-Forman were talking about a potential merger of equals. And over the past actually, as of last week, that deal is now considered dead. From what I understand is that from at least some hoopla from here and there, was saying that we wasn't sure if it was actually going to be a merger of equals. It might have been something where the Pernod family wanted to probably take more controlling stake, and therefore they just couldn't find an agreement. But before that deal fell through, out of nowhere, Sazerac enters the chat, and they drop a jaw-breaking amount of money on this. Now, when he talked about the Pernod and of the Brown-Forman side, there was really no money involved. There was a lot of speculation. There was talk of what would it mean for a company that does X amount of billions in revenue versus another one that does Y billions in revenue, and who would swallow who, where would be the kind of crossover pattern. But Sazerac comes out, and I believe the value is like $32 a share or something like that, which was like $6 plus over the existing current trading price of that existing stock, which amounted to around a $15 billion offer on the table. Now, these are radically different acquisitions and the way things would go. So I guess the first thing that I'll kind of throw at you all, let's just talk about this idea that even Sazerac threw out a number. Who even could have seen this one coming?
Well, part of me, when thinking about this, a part of me wonders if it really is truly a serious offer, or if it's a marketing play to get your name out there, get in the talk, put it out there that maybe you have the chops to do something like this, because we really don't know what Sazerac's books look like being a private company. So it makes me wonder if there's a real serious play here and what that would look like, or if this is all part of get in there, get out in the public eye, make a spectacle of it. Opportune time to do that.
Yeah.
We know that Sazerac is not one to shy away from any great moment that they can take into a marketing moment. So yeah, I guess it's not off the table, but go ahead, Ryan.
Yeah, I agree with Nick. I think we mentioned this on This Week in Bourbon, where I kind of related it to me being at a charity auction where I know I can't afford an item, but I'm going to raise my hand just to be seen, so like at the initial bid, just so somebody sees me, raise my hand, thinks I have money. And, but I mean, there was an interesting article that came out today on LinkedIn. It's on the Brunswick Review, and it was interviewing the new CEO of Sazerac. And surprisingly,
hold on. You actually open up LinkedIn?
I did.
I was say, you don't even have a profile picture on there, Ryan.
Also,
Well,
you're subscribed to the Brunswick Review. I mean,
Well, I got
is that
open.
Brunswick, Georgia? Because I'll drive up there and get a copy of it for you for free. You don't have to go on LinkedIn.
Well,
Who is this guy? Where's the man of the people?
I know. I was opening my email, going through, and LinkedIn was like Sazerac CEO interview, and I was like, well, this would be perfect for tonight and so I started reading it, that they're doing an interview with. I haven't gotten through all of it, but they did disclose that Sazerac does about $6 billion a year in annual sales, which is quite a bit more than I thought, because you had read some articles that said maybe they thought they did about 3 to 4 billion, which is similar revenue to what Brown-Forman's what does per year. But then you start reading on and you're like, gosh, I just didn't realize Sazerac had just such a deep portfolio of brands, like Ryan's Irish liqueurs and Parrot Bay rums and anything and everything, Paul Maison Scotch or whatever, and you realize, wow, they have a much bigger portfolio than you just assumed it was like Fireball, the Buffalo Trace lineup. You knew they had Cruzan and Myers, but their portfolio is just massive. And then I'm like thinking about it, I'm like, well, maybe they do have, and Buzz Balls, yes, recently. And I'm like, well, maybe they do have the free cash flow and the distribution game kind of bigger than I thought they originally had. Because originally I was like, this doesn't make sense, because Brown-Forman has probably a bigger international distribution footprint than Sazerac. That's what I assumed. But going through this, I'm like, well, maybe not. So I just assumed that Sazerac would align with Brown-Forman. Let's get Jack Daniels, use their distribution footprint to kind of expand our portfolio. But yeah, it's interesting too, like, because Sazerac has kind of blown up the 3-tier distribution model. They were one of the first ones, to get away from the R&DCs of the world and kind of go with smaller regional distributors. And then I'm like, how does that necessarily match up with this integration with Brown-Forman? Because Brown-Forman's typically stuck with, Southern Glaciers. They left them, but now they're with Ray's and Johnson Brothers, and the ones that have kind of moved in. And so, yeah, I still don't think it's a legit offer. I think it's more of a PR stunt. But the more I get into it, the more it kind of, I can see where they have the ability to make this deal work.
Before we jump into it, I mean, the international distribution footprint would have been interesting, considering, it's like, just take Fireball worldwide. I mean, could you imagine the next time you're in France, Ryan, and then you just see little Fireball minis just all over
stepping on them, instead of a Total Wine parking lot.
Yeah, it's just like, you're crawling through them at the Eiffel Tower and be like, get these damn Fireball minis out of the way.
So I'll take a little bit of a counterpoint to that. I think it's absolutely a legit offer. And once you start to like peel back a little bit about how big Sazerac is and how they've been able to effectively change the distribution game and their routes to market with a lot of different things with distributors, I think it's a really viable option and probably a great option for them. Huge acquisition of Buzzballs, but I know that's not within our realm of things. They just took a stake in 818 Tequila, or whatever's the Jenner ladies tequila brand. They've been on a bit of a run with acquisitions, and this is a bigger swing. There's no doubt about it. But it's like, if you can get Jack Daniels, and I think Brian even said this in the last time we talked about it, maybe Fred, he's like, Jack is that. I mean, that's the pinnacle of American whiskey. You tell anybody around the world, do you know American whiskey? And they're going to say Jack Daniels. And it's like, if they can get Jack Daniels, that just leads them into so many more routes to grow all of their other brands. They took Buffalo Trace from a 300,000 case a year brand to a 600,000 case a year brand. Imagine what that could be if they were on every cruise ship, every random bar across the country, because that's where Jack Daniels is. And they have all these other brands to go along with it. I mean, I have to think they're hoping this is a real possibility, because, I mean, $15 billion is a massive number, no doubt. But if Sazerac gets that, that changes the playing field for pretty much every other whiskey brand, because that is so much domination in one spot. So that's, I mean, I truly do think it is a real offer, not just a publicity side of things, just because, one, they are that profitable. They've grown that much. They have the abilities to do an all cash offer at that price. They've been on the warpath with acquisitions. Some of them worked out great. Some of them did okay. But this is a massive one that they could take down, and it's probably a once-in-a-generational type of thing to be able to acquire Jack Daniels, Old Forester, all those brands that come along with it that are so ingrained in American whiskey. It's almost a no-brainer.
And Blake, since you have a little bit of a finance background here, kind of help me out and kind of frame this, because I kind of agree with you that it was probably a legit deal, especially when you're offering that much over the stock price. I've been in that situation before when I was at my last tech company, and when that kind of offer comes in, you do and this is where you have to kind of separate yourself from your feelings and have to look at as a business, because you are, as Brown-Forman, you are not beholden to the family. You are beholden to the shareholders who are in there. And so as a shareholder, you're not thinking about tomorrow, you're thinking about right now. And that is a very good deal to say, oh, well, if I have $20 and you're going to offer me $30 for my $20, I should probably take that deal a million times over. So that makes sense. The question for you, though, is when it comes to the Sazerac, and now that you kind of know a little bit about their background on the finance side, Do you think that this all cash thing, like how much debt do you think that they would have to go through, or do you really think they have this piled up ready to go?
Yeah, I mean, I'd say, I mean, I think Berkshire Hathaway is the antithesis of this, of like just the amount of true cash that they have sitting there. I'd be shocked if Sazerac had 15 billion sitting in banks or whatever else, short-term securities. I've got to imagine, call it 60-ish% of this deal is probably going to come from some sort of other debt, whether that's short-term, long-term bonds, all of that kind of stuff. 60, 70%, I think, is what's going to be coming from outside capital, or not even outside capital, but just other debt to take this deal down. Because in general, it doesn't make any sense to have that much cash sitting anywhere waiting for a deal like this to come along. So I'm sure they have a pretty big stockpile of cash. And then past that, it's going to be more about like, okay, we've got these other, banks, whoever else it is, that we can then go to and say, this is how much we need, this is the terms, and they come up with the cash from there. So it's all very short-term security kind of stuff. But yeah, it's not like their Wachovia account sitting with 16 billion, and they're like, oh yeah, let's just put 15 of that to whoever we want to buy.
Do you put 20% down to avoid PMI?
Truly all
on
cash
this?
means all cash. And it's a little different with publicly traded companies, because a lot of these would be like, okay, we're going to give whatever amount of cash, then we're going to have X amount of stock because we're publicly traded. It's a little bit different because Sazerac's a privately held company. They're family owned. There's not a stock that they would then go give to the Old Forester stockholders, because that's public. That's you and I mean, we don't actually own them. I guess we should say that, but
I own a little bit of Brown-Forman stock, so there we go.
Okay. Well, Brian, tell them we should have started the podcast with none of this is financial advice.
It's not financial advice. It's definitely
none of it's legal advice. None of it's financial advice.
Yeah. But it's a little different deal when you're talking about going from public to private. So that money is there and ready to go on paper. But I don't think on Sazerac's balance sheet, there's that much sitting in cash and marketable securities.
Yeah, and I should also mention that obviously, as not being able to see what's going to happen with this deal, there is obviously the Brown family always talked about keeping it in some sort of family thing. Sazerac is still a family privately owned entity, so nothing to say that they wouldn't be offered some sort of shares coming into the company. So yeah, you take all cash, but you can also equate that into some kind of shares that are still going to be equitable part of owning the company too. So you have that.
Yeah.
But Nick, somebody else with the finance background, you chime in too.
Yeah,
let me jump in on sorry, go ahead, Nick. No, he called you.
All right, I was just going to point out too, and then I'll let you take the reins, Brian. That a Brown-Forman stock is also down quite a bit right now too. So there's an opportune time here. I mean, granted, the family does still control. I think it's something like 60% of the voting rights, something like that. So the family would have to ultimately buy in on it, or enough of the family with enough shares. But if you look, I mean, everyone's watching what's happening with bourbon and American whiskey right now, and some of those public companies. So there is a bit of blood in the water, and to what extent that might be affecting some of these deals as an opportune time. Could Sazerac have been thinking about this for quite some time and finally finding now to be the right time to go after this? Maybe that's been in the plans for quite a while. Don't know that, but it's an interesting dynamic, an interesting shift coming off from where everything in American whiskey and bourbon was up, and now we're seeing that shift, and everyone's trying to recalibrate.
Yeah, I agree with that. The point I was going to make is actually Kenny's leading with mid 1980s law right here, and he doesn't even know it. There was a case in the mid 80s called Revlon, and it basically says if you're a publicly traded company and you've got this offer out there where you're going to be selling, your duty is to sell at the highest price you can get. It changes. It basically shifts your focus to what can you get for the company. So even though they're a family company, even though there might be some family members who want to keep it in the family, all those other things, none of that matters because their duty is to the shareholders, even the Class B shareholders, which is most of the rest of the world out there. You got the Class B shares instead of the Class A. They have to maximize the sale. So for all the conspiracy theorists out there who think that, and I don't mean that in a bad way, who think that this is just a ploy by Sazerac, they could totally have just blown up the Pernod deal by making this $15 billion offer, which is better than the Pernod deal would have been. Brown-Forman would have had to have rejected Pernod and focused on getting the money. And then there's some, problem in the deal discussions, and it never consummates. And then Brown-Forman's in the tank because they couldn't make a deal with anybody. I mean, that could end up being the result of this too. The other thing I like about this, and to Blake's point about Jack Daniels, I mean, that is the prize, and that's what I was talking about last time. To get that prize and kind of mini prizes of Old Forester and Woodford along for the ride. Sazerac is already like the 5th largest spirits company in the world. You bring those on, you combine them with what Sazerac already has, and if you've got your sights set on world domination, this does it for you. I mean, it sort of makes sense in a world domination type of way.
Yeah, what's interesting is these two companies have had transactions before with Early Times and Southern Comfort, and two, like, Sazerac's been kind of a totally different strategy where they've been acquiring, growth mode, whereas Brown-Forman's been divesting focus. Like, their portfolio has been whittled down to American whiskey and tequila, whereas they used to have a plethora of brands. And so it's interesting, like, they kind of have two different mindsets right now as companies. But yeah, Jack Daniels is the key to this for Sazerac. I don't know, Sazerac, they just seem so brilliant in what they do. You always question them and what are they doing? Like, this is crazy. And then you look back 5 years and you're like, they were the smartest people in the whole category. They just always have a good mindset about the future, and that's what's encouraging to me as a whiskey fan and as a owner of a whiskey brand, is that they see Brown-Forman and the potential of it because American whiskey's down, this and that. They're continuing to invest. I would assume they're not really caring about Herradura. They're more interested in the potential of Jack and even the potential of Woodford and Old Forester. Like, Woodford and Old Forester are great brands, but they're nowhere near what Jack's doing, and they're consistently growing year over year. And so, it's encouraging that they're really, I guess, doubling down on American whiskey even more so with this even offer.
Yeah, I definitely agree, because there's a lot of avenues to take and what side you're gonna look at it. But there was another question here from the brew baker maker saying, would this deal get regulatory approval? In my opinion, this is the time that you want to probably make these deals, because the current administration is focused on building American businesses. And so if you're talking about combining two big American businesses, then they'll probably want to start leaning that way. I think that with what we had seen this past week with Spirit Airlines just shutting down amid just causing chaos, and they are pushing the blame on the merger that was blocked from the Biden administration, saying that they couldn't do it with JetBlue. This is going to be one of those reasons that they can say, well, look, because of government getting in between this, now we have great companies that are going underneath because they can't move it to a strategic direction. So I would say that we would not have any type of administration over see that would try to block this. And in fact, they would probably they would probably be fine with it. I think the bigger question then becomes more along the lines of a strategy play, like, and what do you do when you have all of these bourbon brands underneath one roof, and you're continually trying to find out how do we continue to keep the consumer interested by dropping Eagle Rare 30, and then now it's going to be Old Forester 1792 edition, like whatever it's going to be, right? You're just going to have all these things, and how would the product market, or sorry, how would the product mix kind of fit into it? But anybody else that wants to answer on the administration side of things here?
Yeah, there's no doubt that if you're American business right now, yeah, and you want to merge or do that, I think now's the time to key on that. And I people say, is this going to create like a monopoly or antitrust, whatever. I don't see it any different than when Jim Beam and Makers kind of came together, because they're, Jim Beam's the number one selling whiskey brand, or sorry, number two. I don't know. Jack or Jim's one or two, but Makers was pretty high up there when they came together. So I don't really see this. I mean, Buffalo Trace and all their whiskey brands are huge, but they're not huge on the sense that Jack and Jim are, or even Evan Williams.
Yeah, I would. It's interesting for sure, because this is where I feel like we could probably take the next 2 hours discussing the 3-tier system, because when they really start looking at what is a monopoly in this world, and I'm sure Sazerac's point would be like, no, we're selling to different distributors across the country. They're under the same laws, so it's not any kind of monopoly, because we have that middle tier, which would then be dispersing it out. But I kind of agree. It's not going to be something that's looked at too heavily. I'm sure Brian can weigh in on if there have ever been any anti-competitive, antitrust type of lawsuits, except for way back in the day when we were talking about, probably last one, my guess would be 1950s-ish, when you had the whiskey trust getting broken up and that kind of thing. But I don't think we're at those levels, just because there's so much competition out there that they can point to, and the distributors are there to kind of block the way for anyone who would come in and say like, oh, well, if you get control, you're going to run everything. And I think that is where the 3-tier system is pretty handy for doing those types of things.
Yeah, I agree with that, Blake. That's a good point. There may be some looking into it, but I don't think there will be any sort of serious challenge mounted to this from a combination standpoint. But what hasn't been said yet is there going to be a BTAC Jack Daniels? That's what we got to look for. That's what this should be about.
There should be the face on the bottle. I totally agree.
Or does King of Kentucky join the BTAC?
But it's going to be an 8-year-old bottled and bond version. So
that's true.
Or does Sazerac really only want Jack Daniels?
That's what I'm thinking.
Is there a play? Is there a road that leads you there, and you don't have the antitrust issue, and and that, to put it in perspective too, I think it would be something around 30%, about a third of the market, the American whiskey and bourbon market, if they did merge in total, to give it a kind of a range of where that would be.
Is that what you think? About a third is what they would own at that point?
It's what I read. It'd be about a third of the market in that American whiskey bourbon space. So you think, where's the line? Where are they going to come in and say, okay, that's too much? Notwithstanding the 3-tier system and the other aspects of the situation, what would be the tripping point? And that's not set in stone. That's something that's live in the moment as to what is going on exactly, with the administration or with the people in charge at that level.
But I guess I'm thinking like Coca-Cola or Pepsi, like how much of a beverage of non-alcohol. What do they own? Like, I mean, I'm thinking of Pepsi, just acquiring like Celsius and then Alani and all these energy and everything. And it's like, I would assume that both of those companies own like 35 to 40% of the beverage market. I don't know. I could be wrong, but just thinking through all the brands that are under each of those two portfolios.
You're giving Sazerac like just the talking points for when
That's
they're
true.
eventually sitting in front of
This episode's gonna be used at a deposition before we know it. Beyond the products, I mean, I think we could put a bunch of pie in the sky thoughts of products. I think one of the things that would probably change monumentally, and that's a big core difference between these two companies, is marketing. You look at something like Buffalo Trace that does almost very little mass market media. Yeah, they have some pretty key influencers. They were the official bourbon of Joe Rogan. They pay a bunch of money for, you see all those inflatable buzz balls in literally every single liquor store across the country. But
They
then
did a Yellowstone commercials, but yeah, not as much marketing as compared to Brown-Forman.
Yeah, I think Brown-Forman certainly does a heck of a lot, and they do it in a much different way. I mean, obviously, this coming off the Kentucky Derby this past week, that was a very good example of their dollars getting put to work there. But you definitely see them putting their ad dollars in very different spaces. So I think, obviously, I think you look at everything Brown-Forman does in a little bit more traditional sense versus what Sazerac does in a little bit more edgy and sort of cutting way of how they're doing things. And needless to say, it goes to show you that, even the Pursuit team didn't get BTAC samples this year because it went to other influencers that are out there into the world. So they're not even sending stuff to Whiskey Geeks anymore.
That's why he hates the steel. That's the real reason.
Yeah, I was like, that alone should squash it.
But I mean,
the truth comes out.
to Sazerac's defense, it's kind of the difference between a publicly traded company and a privately owned company. When you're publicly traded, you're expected to have, here's the marketing dollars, here's the agencies we work with. Agencies are amazing at spending your money when you tell them how much, So I'm sure, Sazerac has their agencies they work with, but I feel like that's the kind of core difference here. And what I really think could be interesting to see how that plays out if there were an acquisition, because you never quite know. I mean, that's got to be two very different types of ways of running a business when you're talking about a family-owned, privately held company versus a publicly traded company. I think there will be some more hiccups along the way and probably be like episode 128 for us, or 188 by that point of like, why aren't they getting along? Why isn't AOL and
Time Warner, that one.
Time Warner making it work? It seems to be like it could be two very different core cultures, and marketing is kind of the first one that comes to mind of like how those are very different and approached in different ways. So
You forgot to mention that Sazerac used the bourbon secondary market to grow all their brands, and then
I thought they used the Bourboner Pappy Van Winkle release map.
the heat map.
I thought that was which they also told me they did not like. So I'm with you, Kenny. They don't love the enthusiasts at times.
Yeah, our guide that we used to publish, where we kind of estimated the numbers of the BTAC releases, was not well received. If y'all have been around long enough for that,
when y'all kind of guessed like the bottle counts based on the barrels used,
yeah, they had all the information
guys,
on the letters, and we just did some math. We have a spreadsheet still, and then one year kind of came up, and then one of those figures was removed thereafter, so we aren't able to do anything near that anymore.
Proving that you were right all along.
Yeah. You're a little too close for comfort there, Nick. That's what it came down to.
That though. I mean, people like that.
Too
People
close to the
like
sun
to
there.
know what the numbers were. I feel like that was something that was helpful to be shared from a marketing perspective.
1000%.
Got
Yeah.
people talking. That's what you want.
They definitely get that. Well, they keep releasing an Eagle Rare 30 or whatever is going to be next. That's going to get people talking, at least for the week, until they come out with Eagle Rare 31 or whatever it's going to be. Beyond there, I think there's kind of just like one thing that I kind of want to get at as we kind of start wrapping this up a little bit. And that's kind of just thinking of, ultimately like your thoughts. Like, is this, you think 50-50? Like, could this go through? Or do you think that this is ultimately maybe just for show? Like 70% not going to happen, 30% there's a chance. And I'd love to kind of hear your thoughts on it.
Since I threw out that initial kind of theory of maybe it's just marketing, I mean, I got to say 50-50. I don't think I would be surprised in either direction. I think it would be very smart of them to throw that out there. And even if it doesn't play out, it's still plenty of press, plenty of marketing. Reality is they probably do have the leverage, really do have the leverage to be able to do that if they wanted to. When you start going down the rabbit hole, though, on the other side of where would the value be, it's an opportune time where Brown-Forman stock is right now, where the market is for whiskey right now. You got that diamond of Jack Daniels just sitting there, and that's very tempting. Obviously, their Sazerac's a very smart company. They understand the bourbon and American whiskey market extremely well, and so whatever play they're at with this, it certainly, I think, has viability to go any direction. What's interesting, I'll point out too, is published a poll in X earlier to see what consumers thought. You like this idea, don't like this idea. Fairly overwhelming, don't like the idea of it. I think it was somewhere around 60%, 62%. No, don't like the idea. So there's another take of where are consumers on it. As we feel like it would be better or worse to have this in play, to have this acquisition in play. So I think go either way, and I think it's going to be one of the more talked about things in whiskey this year for sure, especially if it keeps kind of unraveling.
I'm gonna go 60% it doesn't happen, 40% it does. I just think Brown-Forman has has always had a very good way of having long-term thinking. They've been through ups and downs. And while, yes, the current market's down, it's been here before. If you looked at the 80s and 90s, they were in a similar position. They were investing in vodkas and all kinds of crazy shit. And then American whiskey came back. I think this proves that American whiskey will always be there, and it's going to be poised for a comeback. Otherwise, Sazerac wouldn't be investing in it. Such a big deal. And so Brown-Forman's probably like, yeah, it's a little crappy time right now, but we're going to have enough cash and shareholders' faith that we can ride this out. And I think they're going to stick with the family and the staying with the Brown-Forman, not merge with or not sell out to Sazerac. That's just pure speculation, but that's what I think.
Ooh, that's a good point. And so I will say, like, I was not a huge Old Forester fan 10, 15 years ago, but I think what they've done over the last 10 years has been amazing. I mean, they've really gotten enthusiasts way more involved. King of Kentucky, all of the distillery-only releases, all those things have been really amazing, and they've seen that. But you got two bidders into a situation for a reason. That's the only thing that has me like. I feel like Brown-Forman's a little bit in the driver's seat a bit now. Pernod kind of backing out changes things a little bit, but I'm gonna say 70 it doesn't or 70 it does happen, 30 it doesn't happen, and only because now I feel like once Sazerac sees that they could potentially own like that, once in a lifetime type of opportunity like Jack Daniels, that gives them the ability to work the price up a little more because, I mean, it's Brown-Forman. Like, they have some of the most iconic brands in bourbon history who would not want the opportunity to try to get that? And that's kind of a one-time thing where you get a chance at it, you make a run. Granted, everyone on this podcast is still going to be like, oh, what's the difference between 15 billion and 16 billion? That's a lot of money. But for the opportunity to get those brands, I think runs it up a little bit more for Sazerac just because of the brands we're talking about. And that's why I think they jumped in, they want to be involved, and they really want to make an acquisition happen. So 70% it does happen, 30% something just doesn't work out.
And I think you bring a good up point about Old Forester and Woodford. I still think there's room to grow with both those brands, and Brown-Forman sees that. I think both Sazerac and Brown-Forman. While you have Jack Daniels, yes, but I think there's potential with Woodford and Old Forester still left there too.
Well, it's kind of one of those weird situations where you feel like both could come out even stronger if a deal doesn't happen. Brown-Forman keeps growing. They've got plenty of room to expand with Old Forester. They've got plenty of room to expand with Woodford. They've got new things coming along that has people excited in this space, whether it's RTDs or whatever else, flavored whiskeys, which Sazerac kind of, does really well in with Fireball and Buzzballs. There's a ton of room for them both to come out stronger from this, but it does seem like one that could make sense.
So I'm going to agree and disagree with Blake at the exact same time. I agree on the 70-30. I think it's going to happen. I think that's a really nice way to capture the percentage chance, Blake. But the price is going to go down because Sazerac is ruthless. And I say that with some admiration. They're freaking ruthless. And with Pernod out of the way, I mean, there's no reason to increase it. There's all kinds of reason to get the Brown-Forman decision makers into the room to say, let's do a deal. And then you're saying, well, actually, it's $1 billion less now. But it's still enticing enough to make the deal. So I think it'll happen. And I think they're shrewd negotiators, again, with admiration. And that's how it's going to go down 70-30.
I like it. I'll throw mine. I'll say 65-35 to give myself a little 5 points of just in case it doesn't. But I've been in this situation before, not me personally, but being the companies that I've worked for, and an offer comes out like that, and you're just like, shit, don't know what to tell you. Like, that's what it is. And Brian, I love your take. It's almost like buying a house and then going like, yeah, it needs a new roof though. And
After
so
inspection.
yeah. So we'll just go ahead. Yeah. We'll comb through these books. Yeah. We're going to kind of take it down a few notches there. So I definitely feel like it is going to happen. The more that I try to remove myself personally from this, because personally I look at it and I'm like, there's just a different culture and there's a different feel between both of these organizations that we've had a good fortune of knowing for a very long time. And there's the way they operate are just inherently different. So like from a personal feeling, I'm like, I don't want it to happen. But the business side of me looks at it and go, it's not like Brown-Forman has been on an absolute tear with their stock price at any time soon. In fact, it's been either level or falling for a very long time. They've been shaving off brands. They're doing what they can just to kind of keep the lights on and keep these going, probably keep people employed, give back to communities or whatever it is. And it might be at some point where they look at it and they go, maybe this is it. Maybe this is the time. And, they've got to figure out a way to structure it that keeps, the Browns in, you would call it, continue to be generational wealth, which I don't think that'll be a problem with, 15 billion, but, they only get a portion of that. But I still think like they want something out of it. So I do feel that you are going to have some sort of clash, I think, inside that boardroom. But I do feel heavily that it would favor and behoove Brown-Forman to truly look at Sazerac's offer and go, you don't look a gift horse in the mouth, especially if you're down and you go like, hey, this could be our way out. even though it would be looking back on, how many ever years of history here, but that's kind of the way things happen, right? Whether it's history, whether it's business, you can look back at all the whiskey companies that have folded over the time since before Prohibition, and that'll give you an idea of kind of how this world works. One last thing I'll throw at you, because I was thinking about this. What do you think is going on in the minds at people at like Suntory or MGP or Diageo? What do you think they're doing when they're looking at this going like, oh, wow, I didn't even think about this kind of thing? Or do you think they're just like, there's no way we have money to even put up that kind of offer?
I mean, I think a Suntory acquisition would be much tougher because of the brands they own. MGP is a little bit different just because of everything they have going on.
And they have no cash.
They have no money.
And I've got a special guest in the building.
Anybody interested in some ribeye steak?
Feed that man on live streaming
everybody.
right now, please.
I'm going to go on mute.
Blake wasn't able to stay for his ribeye dinner. I thought I would just.
I wasn't lying when I told y'all I left it early.
I'm surprised he didn't bring enough for all of us. How rude was that?
Oh no, that looks good. Perfectly cooked.
Anybody else have any thoughts about what these other large companies are probably thinking as we wrap this up?
I think they're so they're so in tune with what they're trying to fix with their own companies. I think they're like, we can't even wrap our head around this. Like, we just got to fix the ship on what we're trying to do. I think, Diageo I think Beam Suntory's in a pretty decent shape. Diageo's in a mess. I mean, they've had 3 CEOs the last 5 years, and they can't figure out their identity right now. And so Diageo's just probably like, we can't even focus on any of that stuff. MGP, like I said, they have no cash. They got their own set of problems. Beam Suntory's in a good spot, but they're like, we'll let them kind of worry about it. We're still going to be number 1 selling bourbon, or second, whatever.
Whatever it's going to be.
I agree. That nails it 100%. Everybody else has so many problems. It's just not going to happen with anyone else. They're not even looking.
Now, Heaven Hill on that'd be the interesting one.
That would be a nice play. Yeah.
I do think there is some thought about Four Roses and that acquisition potentially taking some market share within some of the other brands. But aside from just the distribution side, and I guess competing with Sazerac instead of Brown-Forman, there might be some consideration there, but I don't know if that's coming from the top brands or more coming down the distribution channels, where there are probably more opinions to be had in that in those areas than at the top with the big major brands, because we're not talking about new brands forming per se. I think there'd be a long period of business as usual for the most part, and then you'd see slow changes, sell-offs of certain brands and things like that. So the big guys, I don't know that they would really weigh in on that too much.
Blake, do you have any comments after your ribeye?
Yeah, I was like,
now that I am full and got to eat my dinner, I would say, I mean, all things considered, I think he's probably just, you bring the boy out of Louisville, you can't take the Louisville out of the boy.
Can't handle freedom.
that's why we like him so much.
I think there are so many people who would like to be at play at this, and I think it is Sazerac's the only one who can actually be at play for a multitude of different reasons, and that's kind of the interesting part. It's like, who else? Like Pernod is kind of backing out, and maybe I'm proving Brian's point of like they're going to get into the negotiating and be like, nope, it's going to need to be less. MGP's not at a spot where they want to do a $15 billion acquisition. Diageo's, they're fighting a different battle on different fronts with, the markets in the UK and everywhere else. So that's where I think it gets really interesting with both of them. So we shall see. That's the fun part of what we do. We just get to sit and comment.
One thing
Overall,
I can guarantee is Truist is not going to fund anyone's purchase of anything in bourbon.
That's what we
Too
should
close
do
to
an
home,
episode on
Brian.
is
Too close
Truist
to
Bank.
Yeah, no kidding. Ouch.
Truist is amazing. I will stand by that. Our Truist people are amazing. So I want to go on the record by
Whoops,
saying that.
sorry about that.
Brian's going to make sure, your line of credit has been discontinued. Thanks, Sealbox.
Truist is the best.
They are good. They are good. They got in a growing industry, but yeah.
They did.
All right, and then there was actually one thing Patrick Foe had said: does anybody have any bets on Polymarket on what this is going to happen? And I actually kind of had that thought a couple weeks ago when I was listening to everything about like the start of like call sheet and stuff like that, and I was like, you know what, this has not infiltrated the bourbon world yet. At some point, there's got to be some futures bets on like, is this year's Old Forester birthday bourbon going to be over under 95 proof, right? And who knows? It could happen one of these days.
You just got to
That'll
start
save that.
one.
Yeah, I'll save that for another roundtable. But guys, this was a fun one. Let's do a quick little sign off as well. Brian, starting
Go
with
Brown-Forman.
Yeah, enjoyed it. I'm amazed that only in the comments did we see anything about Fawn Weaver jumping rope and.
Oh my
and,
gosh.
I was waiting
Yes.
for someone to compare Kenny's wrestling abs to Fawn Weaver's, but it didn't go there. But good one. Happy to be here, Brian, with Bourbon Justice and Sipping Corn. See you guys.
Blake.
Yeah, Blake from Sealbox. I'm glad to do my last 5 minutes as a live show, apparently. So thanks, Brian Bikey, for joining me. But always fun to be here. I feel like these are the types of episode we'll look back on in 6 to 8 years and be like, yes, we're all idiots, or yes, we're all geniuses. We called it. So always fun to get these thoughts out here. So thanks for having me.
Yeah, we'll see you in a few weeks. And Nick.
Yeah, Nick from Breaking Bourbon. So I'm still waiting on someone to come in the door back here and bring me some steak, but I might be here for a little bit longer. I know, Brian, how far you are away from me here, but no, this is always fun. I'm actually surprised that predictions on the panel are going heavier towards the acquisition is going to happen versus not going to happen. So I'm going to be very curious to see how this plays out, and who knows, there might be a lot more in the news to talk about this in the future. Great comments as always, and always fun catching up with everyone. So glad to be here.
I want to comment on how full Blake's glass is.
He's got a nice full
Mikey,
pitcher of
thanks
bourbon
for
with him.
letting me today, guys.
Glad to have you, Brian. Good to have a sixth person on here. We need our sixth man to chime in. So
You can edit this one, Brian.
yeah, I'd say this one's on you this time. But let's go ahead. Let's wrap that up. This is a fun one. This is one of those ones I saw it. Even last week we talked about potential last time talking about potential Pernod and Brown-Forman. But as soon as Sazerac enters the chat, they obviously can make noise about anything, and I think they have done exactly that. They have been able to keep themselves in the headlines pretty much every single week. But overall, I think the consensus as we looked at this is that it ultimately it's a good deal for Sazerac. If you are a shareholder for Brown-Forman, it's a good deal for them as well. But time will tell exactly what happens and what happens inside the culture of these two companies if we do see it happen. So we'll see. But with that, cheers, everybody. We'll see you next time.
Toodles.
Cheers, y'all.
Cheers.
Brian, digging that Yeti.
Brian, come back
I was
in.
gonna,
I
I
just
was gonna
noticed
make
it
a
here.
comment.
Recording is cut.
What's up with
Look at
my
that. And look what they did. Look what they did for me, Bikey.
Ooh.
Can you see that?
That's
Make
Yeah.
sure everyone
I think that
knows
was actually
yours.
Bikey's that just went to the wrong address.
Yeah, it
My-
might
my
have gone to the
glass
wrong
was a
place.
little bit
I mean, I'm
low,
not an
and you
influencer
see
like
what I
Mikey,
got.
but-
That was Emily, it was not me.
It's a lot of sweet tea.
Just
The culture at Sealbox is just,
yeah.
I mean, it's like a frat house over there,
I know.
feeding steak and zins and full cups of bourbon.
You gotta see what
Yeah,
this
that
is.
was full.
I want to
like
go
you
to the
said
next
that,
round.
Brian. I saw
Planning
that
to
too.
do
Little
for
7-ounce
Squad.
pour there.
Brian,
Blake was kind of surprised at the fill level, and I was like, "Yeah,
Sipping Corn, Brian. I'm so glad you brought up the fawn. we got two
Had to be brought
videos of the jumping rope.
It was just, it's so cringe. I mean,
If Kenny's not jumping rope in a video tomorrow, are we still live? I mean,
you
Yeah, but
guys
I'm
do
not
some
jumping rope in
great.
the video.
You guys do some great. No, you have done such great jobs on the videos.
I feel like
Kenny
Brian-
in a garbage bag jumping rope. I mean, come on.
I mean, I could
Who weighs
probably
more,
find that.
the barrel or Kenny? I mean, that's how you tell Phil level.
Except the thing is that I can't do speed jumper, so I have to do my little double hop after every single one, right? So just have to nice,
No,
nice,
do it.
easy,
Do
nice,
it.
easy jumps.
Just out jump
We're
Fawn
about
is
to
all you
wrap
got
up.
to do.
Let's see, Senna Bourbon. Did she really have a video of her jumping rope? Yeah, go check her Instagram.
Yeah, it's awful. It's so cringe.
It's
Just
she's
trust
she's
us.
just
Don't-
working
don't give
out.
her
She's
another
just trying to
view.
she's just trying to be a workout influencer.
Hey,
Do
The
her
best
thing.
was like in her story was it was like I
we're still
should
live. We're still
Oh, I know. Well, I'm just saying she posted it.
yeah.
she was like, oh, the flight from Atlanta to wherever it's so easy, but I decided to drive. I wish I took the flight though. It's so much easier. And I was like, God.
Never would have guessed.
Never would have guessed.
Although, did y'all know? Brian can attest. We have a direct flight from Louisville to Jacksonville
Still doesn't mean
once a
I'm
year for the Kentucky Derby.
Oh,
And
okay.
he was like, "Man, I booked my flight in Sunday night. It's direct. I don't know what to like. Why don't we always take this?" I'm like looking it up, and all of a sudden my wife was like, "Hey, did you hear that they added a direct flight for Louisville to Jacksonville for the Kentucky Derby?" I'm like, "Great. The one time a year I don't go back and forth to Kentucky, they put in a direct flight like connecting
for you
to
too, Blake.
Fargo,
They're
North
just trying to
Dakota
entice
every
you.
other time."
I had no idea.
Yeah.
I also
Good
had
for-
no idea that Jacksonville had its own flag until I watched Jeopardy earlier.
We do?
Yeah, it's kind of like that
We
one with like
do?
the sun rising with Andrew Jackson on it or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Well, that's why we're called Jacksonville. you know.
No shit, buddy, but I had no idea.
Duval.
Is that why?
I'm just saying.
double
I
Dutch
was just,
blend.
I looked at the flag and I was like, I haven't seen that one before. My wife was like, Jacksonville. I was like, how the fuck did you know that?
Well, you know, the thing about Jacksonville is like our county, Duval County, is shaped like a guy with a mullet. So that's how you know you're truly in the South when even your county has a mullet. It's
Nice.
it's like the river runs through, makes the perfect hairline. Like, yeah, it's just a guy with a mullet. Like, no, that's our county. We are proud.
That's Florida man right there.
Absolutely. And thanks for spending your birthday with us,
Oh, even
Mr.
better.
DeKinney VIP.
Kenny VIP. Thank you.
Yes.
Was that M. DeKinney VIP?
It's in the
MD,
club.
doctor.
We're all in
Hey.
the club.
Well, let me go back to comments. I've got some stuff to give away. I'm about to go on my
Oh boy.
my
Doing the
carry
carry.
Yeah,
protocol.
there we go.
Uh,
He's not going to
Carrie.
remember after he finishes that glass either.
no, I poured most of that back into the bottle and probably an ounce on my desk, but
Knowing seal box is
go.
probably hazmat whiskey.
all right.
Yeah.
M. DeKinney, if
Just
it's your
drip some of
birthday
that,
watching this, send me an email, Blake at Sealbox. We have a Sealbox sampler kit I'd like to send you.
Well, you got some
Ooh.
advent calendars left over?
No, we went new sample series calendars.
Oh, nice.
Seven 50 mLs, $100 for the price retail value of $350.
Dang.
Full
That's a
time
great
deal.
deal.
You're just making
Yeah.
making numbers up now.
All
Wait, so
right.
you got to find all the soft costs in there. You got to add those into it as well. That's what,
No, those don't count. We go hard cost only. Speaking of
all right. Let's go ahead and end the stream. Thanks everybody that was tuning in, and we'll be back here in a month. Maybe not talking about Brown-Forman merger, so we'll see what happens. So
Unless
Stay
there's a new offer.
I've been
talking about
we
Ryan
had
on
an idea.
LinkedIn?
So who knows? We might see a viral video at some point.
I know. I'm dialed in on LinkedIn now.
we're
I'm
gonna be
gonna
talking about Ryan
posted
on
there all
LinkedIn
day.
for the entire next episode.
All right. It's fun,
All
guys.
right.
Thanks.